This is reddogterrain. Welcome back to the shed. Today we're building a Spelljammer street scene. A group of friends and I started playing Spelljammer a few months ago. A scene came up where we were fighting in the streets. One of the players jumped on the roof of a building and started shooting. I decided to build that street. After cutting a 1-inch grid on a block of foam for a street and a strip of dollar store foam board for the sidewalk, I textured them with my homemade texture roller. Then I cut a few shapes, a rectangle, a square, and a trapezoid, making sure their bases were 1 inch by 3 inches. I had no real plan for what I wanted the buildings to look like. I just started putting these together to see if I like them. I'm not even sure what this building's supposed to be. I needed at least one building with a sci-fi door that opened sideways. With more dollar store foam board, I cut a rectangle and then I cut off the corners. A bit of cardstock on the top makes a door frame. Then, using an X-Acto knife, I cut a shallow groove and accentuated it with a pen, making that classic sci-fi door. And this is where we're at so far. Pretty ugly and plain. At one point, I decided I needed a vendor booth. I shaved off the front of this rectangle so it'd be a bit recessed from the others. Then I added a simple shelf so a merchant could show off his summer-flangets, doodads, and whatchamacallits. I found these pen rod refills on clearance. They make great industrial pillars. I put a hole in the roof and glued them in at an angle. I was finally able to use one of the many Starbucks coffee holders my friend Bridget gives me as a corrugated roof. I cut out a section to put in a window. I should have painted the inside black first, but I was so excited. With the majority of the build phase done, I moved on to Mod Podge and paint. But first, magnets. The buildings and an extra sidewalk piece are all interchangeable, which leads to many more possibilities for street scenes. This secret sauce helps protect and strengthen the foam. I would paint the street in my new favorite color, wrought iron, and the sidewalk a simple gray. Then I would add a yellow stripe. I would paint all the buildings with an orange base coat, because I was planning on making them all rusty, but that would change. Jackson Starwind's long, floppy, white ears could hear the murmurs in the crowd well before he could see what was causing them. The crowd was being forced apart as a gang of hippopotamus people, or GIFs as they prefer to be called, pushed through. "Jackson Starwind, we know you are here. Come out and show your miserable face so we can shoot it off." The Red Sun's gang wasn't known for their subtlety. Jackson, feeling trapped at the street level, leapt to the roof, retrieved his rifle, and took aim. On the square building with the sci-fi door, I would cut a few notches out and do 2 layers of paint, hoping it would look like it was chipping off. The merchant building would get a cream color and a few signs, bonus points if you can tell me what they say, and the trapezoid building would get a splotchy yellow to make it look like the rust was showing through. And if you would be so kind as to give a like, share, a comment, tell a friend, thanks. Jackson raced across the rooftops, leaping from building to building. From the street, blast of fire whizzed past his head, while from the hover bike above, the pilot screamed out directions to his crew and insults at his target. A tall yellow building approached. Jackson bent down deep and sprung forward, landing heavily on the sloped roof. Before he could take another step, the rusty roof creaked and collapsed. Now, Jackson lays on the floor, unconscious and surrounded. Purposely doing a bad job, I painted the rusty roof with gunmetal. With a homemade black wash, I covered the whole street and sidewalk. Then I used my favorite brand of oil wash to coat all of the buildings. I used dark mud, grease, and light rust. I would like to thank the band Aya for the use of their music in all of my videos. This song is called Stolus. It's off their first album. Check them out on Bandcamp. After painting the sides, the base, and the buildings black, this build is done.